Shane, we're going to talk about, we're going to creating good habits and recognizing what they are. But before we do that, could you give the good people a little introduction to you and what you're all about and why we're here having this conversation?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Shane Cooke. I've been a chef for 22 years in many different parts of the industry, events, restaurants, hotels, the whole kit and caboodle. Most recently in contract catering. So I've been in a lot of different areas. Now, I formed a company called Jasper Wellbeing at the end of 2019 when I won the Acorn Scholarship. And part of the reason behind that was because of my ideas for mental health and well-being within the industry. Now, I have gathered a lot of information in my head because for the last 10 years, I myself have suffered from depression, anxiety in many different forms. But for most of that 10 years, I didn't even know. I didn't know what it was really. I thought a lot of the time I was just miserable or I was
Yeah.
just aggressive or whatever. And I didn't realize until, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago maybe. So when I kind of finally realized and kind of started being able to take ownership of my own health and get certain support from different places, I realized a lot, and a lot of that realization was where we need to work on within hospitality when it comes to support and open conversation and all that sort of stuff. So that was part of creating Jasper Wellbeing, and that's where I am now. Um,
So Jasper is a purpose-driven organization. That's what I'm getting from that.
that is 100%. It's a purpose-driven organisation with some really I believe are exceptional tools that can really change lives, make a huge amount of difference, not just for businesses but for individuals as well. So yeah, very it's what makes me what gives me my motivation to be able to change lives and support lives with these tools that I've worked very hard to put together. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
Nice. I love that. That idea of going through your own kind of pain, your own trauma, and then being able to kind of put that back and reflect it out to the world around you to try and help those people around you who maybe don't even know that they need their help right now. It's quite an
a-
amazing thing.
Absolutely. You learn
Top draw.
you learn so many tools from your own experience, and that's where I get most. Although I've got all these kind of qualifications and models I use and stuff, the best information comes from my actual experience. Honestly, yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love that. So I feel like we're in good hands then, just to sit and have 15 minutes talking about habits. And I think when it comes to habits, it's kind of recognizing what good habits are, recognizing what bad habits can do for us, and going from there. So this is where I kind of throw 50p in the meter, and I say, Shane, share some knowledge.
Absolutely. See, the funny thing, habits, because we often really don't realize how many bad habits that we've picked up. We often kind of we're often in automatic pilot. So automatic pilot is that continuous kind of we do the same things every day and we do them without thinking about them and we do them naturally. So we never kind of take our head out of the water and kind of take a breath. So what we do is we generally build up all these bad habits, which some of these bad habits might not necessarily be affecting us personally or mentally in a bad way, but what some of these habits would do is stop us from reaching goals or doing things that we want to. And we often wonder like, oh, I just can't do this or I just can't do that. And we just often see it from that perspective rather than stopping, jumping out of automatic pilot for a bit and going, what is it that's stopping me from doing that? The simplest example I could really give is, when we say like, I need to drink more water or I need to eat healthy, but every day we go around, say, running around doing our job. Maybe if we work in London, we're going all over London each and every day, and then we keep going into buy a sausage roll as we're going past and buy a load of um, rubbish cake because we're on the run and we do it quickly.
And it's
Um,
easy.
it's easy. It's right there in front of us. So that's a bad habit. That's stopping us from wanting to eat healthier and drink more water. So what do we do? The best way to do it is to notice our bad habits and actually look at the bad habit, look at what all the bad things that it's causing and what it can do. Not just stopping us from good habits, but what's it doing to our health? What's it doing in every aspect? And then actually swapping it for a direct opposite. This is the
Yep.
easiest way of doing it. So why am I running into different shops and eating rubbish? Because I haven't got any healthy snacks in my bag. It's because I haven't got a bottle of water or a flask of black coffee, which is going to stop me from going into these. And that's the simple kind of swaps. And
Hmm.
these are the things we need to kind of realize when it comes to habits. That's just a general kind of idea, but we do get into when we're in automatic pilot, we do get into emotional habits as well and bad thinking processes.
Yep.
And as I mean, I know it's easy to say, but the way to kind of find these things out is to just take a step back, and breathe. Get your pen and pad out if you need to. Start writing them down. So what I'd do is, you write down your bad habits, you write down what it's stopping you from doing, you write down what you want to do, but most importantly, you write down what you're going to get out of changing this habit. What are the good things that are going to come out of it if you
Yeah.
do?
What are those benefits?
What are those benefits? And keep it in front of you. Keep it in front of your face. Keep it as your screensaver. It's a reminder. And then as you're doing it and as you're changing, a big thing as well to keep on that motivational track when you're changing to good habits is to celebrate and thank yourself and celebrate the wins. We don't do it often enough. And that's what motivates us to get to the next stage that we might want to get to, and this is where our mind starts clearing up and we can start really focusing on these are just normal habits are just everyday life things generally.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? But we've all lived in automatic pilot for so long because we're under that misconception that you work yourself to the bone constantly, and that's how you get success.
Well, that's what we're told, isn't it? Throughout our lives, you work hard and you'll achieve good things. Keep working harder, you'll achieve better things.
Which is true, but what is working harder? Is it working 18 to 20 hours a day, not looking after yourself, or is it working a certain amount of hours a day, but also having breaks, also looking after your well-being and mental health? Because at the end of the day, if you have your breaks and you're able to switch off from work, even if it's 15 minutes during your break, you're going to come back and you're going to perform better. You're going to come back to work the next day and perform better if you could switch off and just bring these good habits into play and journaling your habits. I know it sounds a bit when I was first thought about journaling and writing down stuff, I was like, what? You want me to write down thoughts and feelings? That just sounds weird. But that's the way to understand what your habits are,
Yeah.
good and bad, and it's the quickest way to actually make a difference when you are trying to change them habits. Journaling is such a powerful thing when it comes to habits and what you're potentially doing wrong or how you're potentially stopping yourself from growth because of the things we've picked up. And yeah,
So if you were working with an individual
yeah.
and you were suggesting journaling as being a great tool to use, um, how are you going to get them into that habit of doing that? Because you're right, there's a lot of us, I started out in kitchens, and they're roughy, tufty environments. If you sit down and say, I'm journaling my thoughts and my feelings, there's a good chance there's some people around you are going to go, what in God's name are you doing, big man? What's that all about? How are
It,
you going to kind of change that perception with them?
it's about actually look. If I say to someone, if I'm working with someone, I say, right, what are your bad habits? I just say it to them. What bad habits do you think you've got? And they'll say, oh, this, that, the other. I go, okay, brilliant. Now, what I want you to do is go home and actually write what your bad habits are, write them down. And I guarantee they'll come back with a list 3 times as big
Hmm.
because now they've stepped out of a scenario and they've actually jotted it down. So what's more effective? You've now stepped out of automatic pilot and sat down with a book and you've been in that moment, you've thought about the situation. So straight away, well, you're getting more out of that.
And
It's
would you suggest that they would maybe speak to people that they trust? So go home and speak to a partner, a family member, and say, what do you think of my bad habits? Do you
yeah,
think that could be useful?
yeah, definitely. I think it's also good to get if you can to get people involved as well. You know, people need to be. It's good, especially if you got spouse or kids at home and you want to change your habits. That can actually be changed as part of a family.
Yeah.
That part of that motivation for an individual to have everyone around him, because you know when we're changing habits, it's important to make it simple and not go like with kind of kind of crazy things that are going to take so much effort. And it's about putting everything in front of us. If you want to drink more water, then put a bottle of water in front of you. If you want to, if you want to stop overthinking, then journal all the stuff that you're overthinking about and write why you're overthinking it, how it's affecting you, and then that's the only way you can stop overthinking is by almost nurturing it,
Yeah.
taking those bad thoughts or those overthinking, take hold of it and nurture it.
So
You
can I give you an example? And one of the ones that kind of really stands out to me with chefs is energy drinks. You know, I lose count of how many times I walk down a Cooke line and see these humping great cans of energy drinks, which are pure chemicals, and I'm sure there's a place for them, but not when they're being consumed to such a level. If you've got somebody who's looking and thinking, right, I know that's not great for me, and I want to change that, what steps could they take?
First of all, on an individual level, it's actually realizing what it's doing to you. It's going to crash. It's going to make you crash right through the day. You think it's giving you energy, it gives you a boost for a few minutes, for half an hour, and then you crash. So understand that these energy drinks are rubbish. Understand that healthy energy comes from eating food and eating good food and drinking lots of water for our brain function and for our bodies to work properly. And just think about it like that. It's almost thinking about what you need whenever you're doing anything that's affecting you or that's not great that you want to change. You've got to understand what it's doing to you first. It's easy to just go, I drink too much energy drinks, I'm going to drink more water. So you drink water for a day and go back to your energy drink because you've not taken the time to understand why you're changing. I know we know it's not good for us, but why isn't something good for us? We need to understand and have that in our brains because once you think of one thing, it can feed off to a million things and almost build this tree of badness that this thing can do for us. Do you know what I mean? And when it
Absolutely.
comes to habits, fully understand. And I'm not saying almost scare yourself into changing your habits, but it's great to understand why we're doing something and why we want to change it, because then we can fit, once we've done that for ourselves as individuals, we can then help others. You know, if we don't understand something about ourselves first, how can we help others? Because this is a part of why understanding is quite hard for people. Because you've got to understand a situation or something about yourself that's not great for you to be able to help someone else,
Hmm.
rather than just say, "Oh, you need to stop doing this," or "You need to stop doing that" to someone. Well, have you got any experience with this? Like, what, you know? And then when they can't answer, it doesn't have an impact. So I think it's a great point that you made about involving people. So if you are in a kitchen and you're all drinking 20 coffees a day and loads of energy drinks. Come together as a group, because in hospitality we often, day after day, we create incredible food. We do incredible feats daily, but what's the collateral damage of our health? We do this every day and it's great what we do, but just imagine what you could do if you were doing it healthy. High performance is what we live by in the industry,
Yeah.
but we need to add the word healthy, high performance to that.
Yeah, lovely. I like that a lot. And I think that idea of kind of getting the crew to kind of come together, the brigade to come together and say, maybe we do this as a unit. Because if one person's going to say, you know what, I'm going to reduce that down, well, maybe having one person getting irritable with everybody else it's not going to be great. So if everybody's kind of going through it together, and the thing I love about this industry, and certainly working in kitchens, is the tight knit bonds that those teams will often have.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that in any scenario, just remember, everyone, it's get people involved. Generally, especially when you're in the kitchen and stuff, generally it's not usually one person who's got these bad habits. It's generally up to 80-90% of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then you'll have, obviously, there's always one ripped superhero who's working in there who's great, but he
And he's
can
not cooking us at the gym, yeah?
he can help people, and do you know what I mean? But coming together and doing that together, because what it almost creates when you get people involved with changing habits and you do it as a group is you have that sense of not being the one who wants to fail this, because that's how we think as hospitality people. We don't want to fail, we don't want to look silly, and in the reality it's not about looking silly or anything, but that's how we think. So if you do it as a group, chances are you're not going to slip up because you want to be the winner.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we see things as competition a lot in hospitality, and you want to be that person. So imagine if everyone's saying, I'm not going to give up. I'm still drinking my water. I'm still eating healthy throughout the day. I'm still having 5 minutes for myself, whatever. If everyone's doing that and doesn't want to be the one to fall out, think about the impact mentally,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, performance wise, what you're putting out. It has this knock-on effect. It's and it's
Yeah,
it,
that effect becomes exponential then, doesn't it? And it just starts to impact every element of the business all around, just through that kind of hub of the business really taking care of itself.
Absolutely. And it's these small changes, man. It's there's so many businesses don't realize that there is when we think of well-being and mental health, we often think it means big massive change, and often a lot of the time it doesn't mean that the way we our kitchens function needs to change, or anything like that. It's often them little things. And I always say, when you're starting a journey of change, the habits is probably the main place to start, because then you can understand your sleep patterns, because these are the ones that normally come with habits is sleep. Are you getting good sleep? Enough sleep? Um, it's nourishment. So any healthy intake. Are you eating rubbish? And then it comes to like keeping healthy, maybe exercise, movement, and then boundaries. So they're the things, like, I can't do any of this because I'm working constantly.
Yep.
But they're the ones that come up when habits come up first, and they actually all form the base of good well-being, and how your well-being, once you've got them kind of in order, your well-being generally can grow, because if you're nourishing yourself in these ways, then that in many cases creates positive mental attitude and positive change, which helps us to really smash changing them habits. and
I
and
love that idea of kind of the small things making the difference. And I think back to when I was an operator. I drank a lot of tea when I was an operator. I fundamentally, I would have a cup of tea in my hand at any given point. And I was putting a bit of weight on. I was thinking, what's going on here? I'm still moving. I'm still working hard. And then I looked at it and thought, well, I'm potentially drinking 10 to 14 cups of tea a day. And in each one of those cups of tea, I had a teaspoon of sugar. that's a lot of sugar in a daily basis, in a weekly basis, in a monthly basis. And then for the year, I was like, damn, I've got to stop that. So I made the decision. So I'm going to change that habit. I'm going to change that behavior. Took the sugar out, and yeah, it was hard. You know, I was a little bit tense for a little while, but fairly quickly, I started to really feel the benefits.
Yeah.
And within probably 6 weeks, I dropped half a stone.
There you go. Once you first start feeling the benefits, everything is hard at first. Any change is hard at first, but just expect that change doesn't happen straight away. It's keeping to change that turns the things we do into a natural process and into lifestyle. And it doesn't take long, but it doesn't happen straight away. And we've just got to remember that, you know. So yeah.
So key points. I guess our starting point, very much kind of to try and understand the problem, make a list. So start journaling, start thinking about and writing these things down. And don't be embarrassed about that. You know, it's just, it helps a lot of us.
And with that, make sure that we get them bad habits written down, but we need to write down what they're doing to us and what they're stopping us from doing from a physical and mental perspective.
Perfect. So it's a good, strong list, understanding the kind of the impact that it's having, but then also thinking about the benefits. So understanding the damage it's doing, but understanding the benefits it will give to you once you actually made that change and you've changed that behavior.
Absolutely. And then my advice would be, don't just say, I'm not doing that habit anymore. Actually take the bad habit and swap it directly for its good twin. Like you said about the tea.
Yeah.
You know, just don't say I'm getting rid of that. It's much more effective if you just, you know, you see one as the bad twin and one as the good twin, and you just go to that good version. Because a lot of the times when you cut something out completely, you end up falling back into it. So I think
Absolutely.
it's just swapping that around and understanding that if you stick to it and you carry on, imagine what great things are going to come out of it. And I don't just mean health. I mean physical health. I mean physical, mentally, emotionally. And then think of how imagine how I'm going to perform if I'm nourished and I feel healthy and my bad habits have all gone. Imagine the difference I can make. My mind will be clear. You know, I'll be waking up refreshed rather than half dead. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
yeah. So
We become unstoppable.
absolutely.
Nice. I'm loving that. That's some very, very useful stuff there, and I'm sure that those listening will get a huge amount of benefit from listening to that 20 minutes. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.